So you think you'd like a Border Collie? I've been really lucky. I've owned a lot of Border Collies. We got our first Border Collie back in 1992, and there's been an awful lot of them over the years since then. I've been really lucky in that I've owned males, females, desexed, undesexed, lots of different bloodlines. So I've pretty well experienced most personality types that the Border Collie has to offer, and there are quite a lot. What I'd like to do in this video is just go through with you the ways that I raise a Border Collie to make it easy, and also to ensure that as an adult I get the dog that I really dreamed of having when I purchased that 8-week-old puppy. Okay, so what I'd like to do first of all is let's go through the problem areas that are really common in Border Collies. I have come up with this list of problems through my, nearly 30 years of working as a veterinary nurse, working as a dog trainer, doing online courses, working with competition, agility and obedience people, and also, I guess more recently, taking notice on Facebook groups, the common problem areas that people will post needing help with. And these are what they are. So here we go. So I've written them down so I wouldn't forget them. Number one, overactivity. So the hyperactive dog that is just on the go constantly. The dog that can't settle, the dog that is just full on. So I guess firstly, if you're looking at a Border Collies are full on dogs to start with. They've got a lot of energy, and I wouldn't suggest somebody purchasing one that wasn't prepared for a level of this. But saying that, there's a lot of things you can do to try and put a cap on some of that hyperactivity, so that you can live with this dog much, much easier. So there are things that we can do. And I think the very first one that we think about is these dogs will take as much exercise as you give them generally. The problem you have is the more exercise you give a Border Collie, the fitter they get. The fitter they get, the more they want and the more they need to satisfy themselves. So I would tell any pet person that's raising a Border Collie, raise them to be a slob. So what do I mean by that? You're going to reward any calm behaviour you get. So I've got my young easy girl laying down here with me. She is about 20 months of age now, and I have rewarded her for stillness since she was very, very young. So rewarding calm, quiet behaviour is important. Don't develop a need for adrenaline. And we often make our Border Collies into what I call adrenaline junkies. And you do that by encouraging them to be in high states of arousal for long periods of time. What does that mean? How do you do it? The classic is going to the park or going out in the yard and throwing a ball for the Border Collie until it cannot run anymore. That dog's arousal levels are super duper high when you do that. It's one activity that I would say, please don't do with your Border Collie for multiple reasons. One, you're just going to send them into a state of overexcitement and over-arousal. The more adrenaline that pumps into their system, the more addictive it is to them. So you end up, as I said, with that adrenalized junkie. And the next reason don't do it is doing cruciate ligaments, so damaging the knee. The main way dogs do that is by chasing a ball. And you've all seen the dog, and especially the Border Collies, they're crazy, they're after their ball, they love it, and they race, they nearly get to the ball, and they skid, and you'll see them put all this pressure on their shoulders and their knees. And that's when most dogs do cruciate ligaments. Like anything, a repetitive action will cause damage long term. So the more they do it, the more likely they are to damage the knee or other joints. So don't use that. I don't ever want to wear my Border Collie out. I want to teach them that nice gentle exercise is what we do. So we go for nice leash walks. Yeah, we'll have some off-leash walk time as well, but I try not to be making that my main exercise all the time. I don't want my Border Collie belting around 100 miles an hour constantly for hours and hours on end. So I do control the exercise to a degree. So that's number one. Number two, and that's obsessive compulsive behaviours. This is really common in the Border Collie. They are bred to be obsessive. So this is in their DNA. If we watch them with a herd of sheep, you need that Border Collie to be able to predict when sheep number 335 is about to make a break. So they're obsessing over the movement of the herd constantly. So this is up here, it's inbred in them. Yeah, it's going to be more in some Border Collies than others, absolutely, without a doubt. So what are obsessive compulsive behaviours that we see in the Border Collies? Fence running, so up and down fences, running in circles, so making paths in a yard, barking, chasing birds, chasing shadows, chasing insects, herding ants. I've seen just about all of them. And most of them are behaviours that we could have prevented by not letting the dog practice them when they were young. So not leaving them unattended for long hours with these things in their environment. With these things in their environment so that they can be practicing their obsessive compulsive disorders all day, every day for months and months and months before it becomes so ingrained that changing that behaviour is going to be really hard. So we want to prevent, lay down, come on, you're going to lay down for me, easy, good girl, on the ground there, good girl. So we want to prevent these issues rather than waiting for them to happen and then react to them, okay? Number three, reacting to fast-moving objects. Wow. Once again, as I said, with their background, it's in their DNA to keep an eye out for things that move and run after them. So it's no wonder that a lot of people struggle with their Border Collies reacting to fast-moving things. So what have I got written down here? Cars, bikes, skateboards, running kids, brooms, hoses, leaf blowers, you name it, anything that moves, and if it moves and makes a noise, even better. A lot of Border Collies are going to obsess over these things. So what do? We know that we've got in our 8-week-old puppy the DNA that is probably going to predispose them to doing all of those things. So for me, I'm going to be proactive from day one. So as soon as I bring my little puppy home, I'm going to expose them to these things, but these things are going to be at a distance, and I'm going to reward my young puppy for totally ignoring them. And why am I doing that from a baby puppy? Because as a baby puppy, they're probably not even going to take notice. So I can start to desensitize them and reward them for ignoring all of those fast-moving things around them. So I never ever have an issue. So, that's so easy to do. And I take them out into environments where these things are happening around them. Car chasing is, an incredibly common behaviour that I see people asking for help with their Border Collies. And, it starts by you walking your Border Collie and they've got cars going past, no problems, and just one day, suddenly they might go, whoa, that was interesting. Nobody tends to notice that. And then after a few more times going out with cars going past, you've now got the Border Collie that's kind of lunging a little bit towards, and then we go down the track a few weeks. Now we've got a Border Collie that's on the end of the lead when they hear a car coming 2 kilometres away. They're barking, they're screaming, they're racing at the end of the lead, they're spitting on their lead. It's ugly. It's really, really ugly. Unfortunately, as a trainer, Most of the time, when people will come and ask for help, is when they've got the dog running at the end of the lead, spinning, barking, and being crazy. The dog's been practicing that behaviour at a low level for months and months, possibly. This is now going to be a really hard behaviour to change. It's changeable, but it's going to be hard compared to the 8-week-old puppy or even your 4-month-old puppy that you are being proactive about and showing them all these moving things and rewarding them for taking no notice. Okay, so it's about being proactive more than anything. Don't wait for these problems to arise, because well over 50% of Border Collies are going to do that. So we know it's going to probably happen, over 50% of them. So let's train and work with our baby puppy to ensure that it doesn't become a problem. Okay. Next one, leash reactivity. Leash reactivity is pretty common in a lot of Border Collies, and there's a couple of reasons for it. One, a lot of Border Collies are not that interested in other dogs. They kind of like their own company, or they like the friends, their canine friends, and anything outside of that is like, ooh, you know, that it's not of interest to them. And sometimes they can get to the stage where they may be telling them to actually bug off out of their space. And especially breeds that don't mesh with the Border Collies. What do I mean by that? You have your contact sport players in your breeds, and you have your non-contact sport players in your breeds. Border Collies are non-contact sport players. Yeah, they'll play rough with their friends, but they generally do not want a dog they don't know playing rough with them, bumping them, or trying to get them to move, getting in their personal space. A lot of Border Collies don't like that. So that's one reason that people will often see leash reactivity. And the other reason is the young dog that is really overexcited about every other puppy and dog that it sees. And they've got, you know, this lovely owner that's taking them out on social walks and letting their puppy drag them up to every dog on the walk, because puppies tend to be very social. So the puppy learns to drag their owner up, and it gets to say hello to every dog on the walk, or most dogs on the walk. And then as they start to get a little bit older, and especially when they hit their teenage years and they're big and they're boisterous, they're no longer that cute puppy that most other dogs will tolerate bumbling up into their space, and most people kind of think it's cute as well. People now see your adolescent dog bouncing at the end of the lead, wanting to play with theirs, and some of those people are going to be like, yeah, no, I don't want your adolescent dog to be thugging around on top of my dog. And there's a lot of dogs out there that are going to look at those dogs and go, yeah, no, I'm not interested. So then what you do is you start holding your adolescent Border Collie back on the lead while it's really excited and wants to go and say hello to that dog, but you know it can't, so you restrain it. And you do this on all of your walks for maybe weeks or months, and this just keeps going on and on. And what's happening as the weeks go on is your dog is now getting more frustrated by the fact it can't say hello to that little dog over there, and it gets more and more frustrated, and then we start to see frustration behaviours and not just excited behaviours. And they can look pretty ugly. Doesn't mean they're aggressive, but they can look incredibly ugly. And that is vocalizing in sort of a growly sort of way, and just being a lot more forceful about the way we do it. We're just super aroused. They get so aroused that you can probably wave food around them to try and distract them, and you can't distract them. They are just so aroused in the moment. And it gets worse and worse and worse, to the point where the dog will possibly do that when they see a dog a kilometre away. So leash reactivity is pretty common in the breed. Doesn't mean they're being mean or nasty. It's just something that, if let develop, can develop into that. What do you need to do? Okay, simple. You've got your baby puppy. Yeah, get them out, get them socialised. But teach them that when you're out walking and there's other dogs around, hey, come and look at me, ignore that dog, here's your treats, here's your treats. Pick their friends. If you see a dog out walking and it's a nice compatible friend, ask the owner, can my puppy say hello to your dog? And if that's a yes, then I will say to my puppy, hey, have you seen this dog? Let's go say hello, go on, off you go. So I'm almost giving permission to them to go and say hello. If I don't give you permission to say hello, I would probably prefer you just to ignore the other dogs. And they're not just going to do that, I need to teach that. And the way I teach it is, other dog coming, come pay attention to me, lots and lots of treats. We either move on or we'll say hello. And that'll be varied. I don't always do the same. Mainly because it depends on the other dog. You know, if the other dog isn't going to want to say hello, well then I'm not going there. A bad experience at a young age is not a good thing for a Border Collie. And then the Border Collie that is concerned about others coming into its space or coming into their mother, then I'm going to find suitable dogs that are nice, calm adults that I can work with my puppy. So, and the easiest way to do that is I just have a barrel of treats on me and I just reward the older dogs for being nice and calm, my puppy for being nice and calm and having them close, and I just reward nice, calm behaviour. I do this from when they're very young, and I'll continue doing this probably for the rest of their lives. You do have your wits about you, because the dogs that you are doing this with, they need to be really bomb-proof, nice dogs. You don't want a dog in there that when you bring treats out, is going to become possessive over the treats. So pick the dogs you use to train with your puppy, absolutely. So I'm going to teach this. I'm not going to wait until I've got a young dog lunging at the end of the lead. So don't leave things to chance, okay? Yes, we've all had dogs that we've raised from baby puppy and they've never shown any leash reactivity, you know, and you're saying, well, my next one will be the same. We don't know. We don't know what experiences your young dog might have that could trigger them to start doing these. So be proactive and do that training when they're young. So that's another one to be really working with. Lack of recall with distractions. This is another common one that people have trouble with. So what I mean there is the dog that you let off, it sees things happening in its environment, and when you call it, it ignores you and keeps going and doing whatever it was doing. Recalls, they're not born with a recall. Recalls are really hard work. You need to start working with your recall from the day you bring your puppy home, and you need to keep working with that well into adulthood. Your puppy is going to choose you if you make it worth their while. So I'm always going to have lots and lots of treats on me if I've got a young puppy or an adolescent dog, and I'm going to make sure that I food reward them coming back to me at least 80% of the time during this period. I want to make sure, as we say, I have put so much money in the piggy bank for coming back that it's worth their while. Dogs that don't come back to their owners generally are dogs that have not had enough value for coming back to you. So we need to put huge value of coming back to you without distractions first, because it needs to be successful. If I'm calling my puppy and it's not coming, it's not successful. So I need to set them up so that they succeed in being able to come back and get, as I would say, millions of dollars for that behaviour, okay? Get that rock solid. Number two, where this goes wrong so often for people is that they've got the young adolescent Border Collie. An adolescent could be as young as 5 months of age, and they take them somewhere, they let them off lead, and being the breed and having the DNA makeup that a Border Collie has, they react to things that move. Things interest them in the environment. And what happens is this young dog, before it's had enough reinforcement for coming back, now is off chasing a rabbit, a kangaroo, another dog, a cat, or God knows what else. And now they're experiencing the adrenaline release of doing that activity. They're now finding out that it is so reinforcing for chasing those things. I don't want my young dog chasing anything until I've got a rock solid recall. Because unless I've got a rock solid recall, there's not a chance in hell I'm going to be able to get a young dog back from chasing a kangaroo or a rabbit. And I will do a video of dogs recalling off those for you. So the first time my dog sees a rabbit or a kangaroo, I would like there to be a fence between them and it, or a long line, so that if my recall doesn't work, my dog can't practice going after them, okay? Every time your dog chases a rabbit, a kangaroo, a cat, or another dog and doesn't come back, you're just digging this hole of not ever having a recall deeper and deeper and deeper. So be very careful on the management side. Yes, it's sweet letting your young dog be able to go and run. I understand people have this thought that dogs running free, you know, it's beautiful, it's lovely to watch, and I agree with you, but it's not without a recall. Working as a veterinary nurse, we get dogs brought in to work often that have been ripped to shreds by kangaroos. They've got injuries that sometimes will kill them, and they've got other injuries sometimes that are going to cost you a lot of money and a hell of a lot of trauma to the dog. So I don't ever want my young dog in a situation where it could be hurt as well as damaging its recall, okay? So work really, really hard at getting your recall before you give them all that freedom. And the next one is toilet training and destroying things. So this comes into my everyday management of a young puppy from the day they come home at 8 weeks, probably up until they're about 14 months of age, and it varies from puppy to puppy. And yes, absolutely, I'm going to have people out there watching this go, well, my last Border Collie, he could run the house as an 8-week-old puppy onwards, and he just knew to toilet outside. Well, lucky you, you got 1 in a million puppy that just seems to get it. For the rest of us, we're going to have to work really hard on our toilet training. Then the next one, the chewing. Yeah, I'm going to get the odd person who'll say, oh, look, the worst he chewed was one old thong. You know, he didn't chew anything else. I don't know what the problem is. You know, dogs don't always do that. Once again, you got that 1 in a million, okay? Young dogs are going to chew things 99% of the time. So what I'm going to set up in my house, and I'll set it up in the main part of the house where everybody spends a lot of time so that the puppy's part of the family. I use a puppy pen that has a roof. It's just over 1 meter square, and inside that area is going to be, to start with for the puppy, an emergency toilet for if they need to go when they're being left in there for any period. That is going to be whatever works for you and the puppy. It could be newspaper, puppy pads, artificial turf, a proper dog toilet, kitty litter, it can be whatever. And every puppy will have something that works a bit better. So it's a bit of trial and error to work out what you use. Then there'll be a bed, and then there'll be lots and lots of chew items for them in there as well. What we need to do is remember that teaching a puppy about confinement from when they first come home is going to be much easier than, say, at 5 or 6 months when they start destroying your house and yard, saying, oh, I better do some confinement now. There you've got your teenager that you're trying to take privileges away from. Whoa, you're going to be in for a lot of screaming and a lot of trouble ahead. That's not going to be an easy scenario to work with. Whereas if you start off with some confinement, your puppy is going to see that as normal, and they're going to progress through very, very easily. So what do? I place my puppy in its confinement area whenever I cannot supervise it. I don't want it toileting around the house. Every time it toilets around the house, it just increases the chance that I'll get other accidents around the house. And I don't want it chewing things. Your chewing period's going to be its worst from 5 months through to 12 months, okay? That's when you need to be very, very careful. So some of you may be thinking, I don't want to confine my puppies so much. I don't want to do that. They're Border Collies. They're meant to have space and things like that. Well, I think if you've got to this far of listening to this video, you've realised that space is going to be your worst enemy for most Border Collies. But I want to mould my young dog into the perfect adult. And I'll put up some video footage of what my perfect adults do during the day. They sleep on my lounge. They can wander around my house wherever they want. But they've got to earn that privilege. My baby puppy has not earned that privilege. And strangely enough, dogs actually need to sleep for really long periods every single day. They're saying up to 16 hours of rest every day. And the puppy pen's going to allow me to provide that rest for my puppy, because in that puppy pen area, I can reduce down all the stimulus. So they're not going to have cars going past, people walking past, birds flying over, other dogs in the street running around. So I can control the stimulus, which means that they're more likely to sleep and get that rest they need. I think talk to any parent of a young child and you'll find out that if their child doesn't get a certain amount of sleep and rest, they're a nightmare to be with. So most parents work really hard at getting that routine of having enough sleep so that they can actually live with their child without wanting to do horrible things to them. Your young Border Collie is no different. It needs somebody to encourage it to relax. If left outdoors where there's lots of things happening, it's not going to relax and it is going to be that nightmare. So how long you can leave your puppy confined? You can leave them confined for long periods of time, but you need to think about what keeps your dog happy and content. And that requires you to exercise them. So yes, your young Border Collie needs to have adequate exercise for their age. I would take my young Border Collies out of their own environment for a leash walk every single day, and I try and make it somewhere slightly different, so there's slightly different things for them to take in. I'm going to reward them for being calm in those environments, but it's really good socializing. And the cool thing is, with all these things happening around them, their brain is processing a lot and they are going to get quite tired from that. So I make sure there's been adequate exercise for the puppy. I make sure there's adequate playtime. So I'm going to go and actively play with this puppy. We might play with a toy, play a bit of tug. We might run around together for a period of time. We're going to interact and just play and hang together. Then I'm going to make sure that I provide something to entertain them and to use their jaws on. So this is where I will use food stuff. Whoa, she's in a white now, stay there. Food stuffing items like your Kongs, your Topplers. I'm going to use lick mats, and I'm going to use things that dispense their dry food, so I can put dry food in here. This is a Kong wobbler. So I'm going to provide them with things that they can get their treats out of. So I'll just give her that there. She'll like that. So providing lots and lots of things for them to chew and work at to get their food out. I would feed my young puppies at least 80% of their food out of food dispensing items. That way it can take longer for them to get their food, which keeps their brain occupied. The more they chew on things, the tireder they get. So it's about making sure all of those things are taken care of. Their exercise, they've had some play, and obviously they can go to the toilet while they're out, and then they've got some things to chew on to occupy them as well. So it's a combination of all of those things that is going to make the confinement time so much easier for them. Absolutely, if you're not doing those other things and just confining the puppy, then one, I think it's cruel, and two, your puppy's going to act up a lot more. So they're the main things. I don't think I've left anything out here. I wrote everything down so I wouldn't forget anything. They're the main things for raising a puppy. And to be honest, if I'm selling a puppy to somebody, I expect them to be ticking all of those boxes, okay? Otherwise, I'm probably not going to sell a puppy to somebody that's not prepared to do those things, because I know that if we don't, the chances of that puppy causing dramas is really, really high. Okay, well, I'm going to add into this video a couple of other little bits and pieces, but thank you for listening and good luck with your puppy.
So this is Easy's inside puppy pen area. It's set up in our living area. You can see I've got my desk where I do a lot of my work right beside her pen. And our kitchen's just behind me. And most of our dogs just wander around the living area during the day and night. So this is where I can put her so that I know she's 100% safe. I know that she can't be destroying my house, she can't be weeing and pooing everywhere, and probably most important to me is she's not annoying my older dogs, because my older dogs need their space and peace. This is Jinx. Lots of you might remember Jinx. Jinx is nearly 14, so she's our oldest dog, and I don't want her upset by a puppy. She's too old to have to deal with a puppy annoying, biting and chewing on her and things. So inside the pen area, you'll notice there's a bed. Really important at this stage, puppies chew beds. So she's just got, her bedding will for a while be things that if she does destroy, I won't cry over them. So it's just a towel with a really cheap bed underneath it. In the back for her, I use kitty litter, and that's loosen kitty litter, so that if she is cut short or I have to leave her for a long period of time, she's got somewhere that she can go to the toilet. And hi, pussycat. There's Sunny. Sunny's come to join us. She's got water and she's got food in different food puzzle toys. And if she's been left in there, she might have a raw bone to chew on as well. She'll always have Kongs and different other things stuffed with food to keep her entertained as well. So that just makes sure she's totally safe. As you can see, it's got a roof on it so she can't climb out. And it's got a base. And little Alex is in his own little puppy pen because he's only 9 months of age. He's at the other side of the room where they can't see each other, so that they're not barking and stirring each other up while I'm not supervising them properly. So it just gives us the chance to teach them how to be calm in the house and settle by themselves.